for the section, sir. From India's independence to Goa's liberation, the Sino-Indian debacle of 1962, and then a Myanmar fiasco, which is little relatively less known. How do you see Nehru's legacy in today's India?
Well, Nehru's legacy will have to be seen in terms of the world that Nehru lived in. It's my opinion, of course, that I feel that we should not look at history from the point of view of the world that we live in. We should go back in time and try and understand the challenges that Nehru confronted, and only then we can understand, or we can perhaps appreciate whether Nehru did the right things or not. When I say that, and I really look at the issue of food security for India very, very strongly, because India was dealing with terrible famines at that time. When India became independent in 1947, that period itself was just 3 years after the Great Bengal famine. But then the country was yet not out of the shadow of famine, because after the Bengal famine, there were many smaller famines that were continuously breaking out across India, eastern part of India, southern part of India, Telangana, even Kerala. So there were these, famine-like conditions emerging, and then there was something that we don't remember these days. There was a thing called the food riots. So there would be a truck coming to a particular neighborhood to deliver food, and there the people along community lines would clash with each other to rob that truck, and then there would be police action in which people would die. So that was the condition of the country at that time. So Nehru started the process of sourcing food, first of all. And that was also one of the first diplomatic actions, because food is, as I keep talking about it these days, that food is a strategic commodity. Nobody gives food unless you grow it yourself. So India today is food sufficient. And that is a strategic advantage that India has, which India did not have in the 1940s. And remember also that the food situation of the country in the 1940s, into 1946 and 47, was also partly because of the Second World War, in which the entire food system, that is the supply chain of food in India, was disrupted, because it was felt to be a good thing to disrupt India's food cycle, because that food would then flow into the Allied war efforts. So for nearly 5 years, India's food cycle was disturbed.
And then West Punjab was given to Pakistan.
And then West Punjab was given to Pakistan. And then you had the whole lot of water issues erupted in northern part of the country. So you had a terrible, terrible situation. So to answer your question, I would say that we really have to go back in time and see the challenges that Nehru faced. And once we see the challenges, the magnitude of the challenges, that is when we understand that Nehru didn't have a very easy time to deal with. So he had a very his plate was full of challenging issues. So therefore, I would say that the legacy, if we really have to talk about today, must be seen in the context of Nehru's time. And there I would say that Nehru did rise to the occasion. Nehru did try to deal with some of these devastating challenges, and he did so without bitterness. That is something that I find
very important.
That is very important. Without bitterness, and whether it is bitterness against his colleagues or because you just talked about Subhash Chandra Bose, there was absolutely no bitterness. And Subhash Chandra Bose's young daughter, who was at that time living in Europe, because she was born in Europe, she used to come and live with Nehru in Tinmurti Bhavan. So that also tells you about the personal qualities of the man here. So I would say that he did even India's relation with the United Kingdom. I mean, we had such a bitter parting, of course, but yet we sent our officials to UK universities for training, and despite the bitterness, people didn't like it. Common people in India didn't like it. We wanted to be decolonized, because we are talking about decolonization. But that
he saw the reason.
Yes, but then that decolonization, that cause was articulated very elegantly by Nehru, and also with a lot of, I would say, as I said, without bitterness. So when you argue a case elegantly and without bitterness, and yet with a lot of urgency, perhaps it does pass the test.
So thank you for such